Hello teachers, welcome to our YouTube channel where you will get a lot of inspiring videos that will help you on your journey as a teacher. Do well to subscribe and stay connected. Welcome once again to our channel. Mrs. Blessing Onoriukpe is a graduate of Computer Science Education with the University of Ado-Ekiti, UNAD. Ekiti State. She has been in the education industry for about 3 decades. Her professional certifications include International Teacher Diploma with the University of Buckingham, UK, Certified White Blue Sky Facilitator. She is presently the proprietor of Divine Seed Schools, Ekpan Wari. She is also the Delta State Controller of the Association for Formidable Education Development, AFED Delta Chapter. She is the lead consultant of the Edu Ambassador, an educational consult based in Warri, which specializes in 360 degrees education reform. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Exceptional Teachers Conference 2024. Mrs. Blessing Onoriukpe.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening, amazing teachers. It's wonderful having you again for this year's conference. I want to actually appreciate Coach Goodness. She has been an amazing person. Organizing a conference like this and being consistent is actually not easy. And when she approached me, I really had to do it because I know what she's trying to do to help teachers in our space here on earth. So I had to squeeze out my tight schedule to looking at a topic that was actually, all right, the topic was actually similar to that which I handled last year, teachers conference. So I feel it is for emphasis and also to reinforce some other things. That was why I was giving this topic again. So let's dive quickly into our topic. I'll be sharing my screen. We are looking at a very important topic: differentiation strategies for helping the struggling child or struggling children in literacy and numeracy, which is popularly called the mathematics and English language. Will you all agree with me that when we, as class teachers in the classroom, we have different categories of children that come into our classes, and this different category of children all have learning needs. Although I was not soon, because network was adding me and removing me, I had a little from the last speaker. These 21st century children have various learning needs that for us to be able to adapt to them, to be able to fit in, and to be able to help them, we need to understand them. They go through what we call personalized learning, individual learning, because of their various individual needs. You might be having 20 learners in the class, and you may have children with 20 different needs that are not similar. And that's why there is need to have differentiation in learning, because if you teach all the 20 children at the same time using the same method, you might not be able to get them you might be losing some of them. Remember, every child has the right to learn. Every child wants to learn, and every child wants to pass. No child is happy being a failure, and they try as much as they can to succeed. But the point is that we as adults, we seem not to understand how to help these children. And that is where in 21st century education, differentiation comes to play. And so what then is this thing called differentiation? For some of us who were not here last year, because I talked seriously on what differentiation is all about. Differentiation is just a process of tailoring learning to meet the different needs of learners. You make your learning to be able to fit into your teaching, your presentation is a situation where every child is able to fit in. Every child should be able to fit in. If every child do not understand what you are teaching, then you are not teaching. Every child. Before now, we had what we call our 19th century education. In our 19th century education, when we are planning our lesson plan, notes or lesson plan, you have your objective as the children should be able. It wasn't compulsory that all the children should get whatever you are teaching. But for the 21st century, education is compulsory. Every child is expected to be able to grab what you have taught. And that is where we have differentiation. So you have differentiation helping the children, those who are not able to meet up. You have using the differentiation method and strategies, which we are going to look at a handful of them closely. You have this opportunity of helping these children up. It's just like helping a child who wants to walk. You know, some children are so vast. As at the age of 7 months, we have some children who are already walking. We have others who wait till 9 months. We have others who walk by the time they are 12 months. But the main thing is that we do not say, oh, because this child didn't walk at 7 months, and you just abandon the child. Even those who are waiting up to 12 months, you see the mother getting baby walker, getting various things in order to aid this child to be able to walk. And that is just different. That is the work of differentiation when it comes to learning. It's a way we help these children to be able to meet up with their needs. We'll be able to reach out to them in a way they can understand. Why those who started walking will not stop those who started walking at the age of 7 months. Those ones are running already, whereas this person is just still trying to walk. We will not leave those ones. We will also guide them so they don't run to hurt themselves. And at the same time, the ones who are just trying to walk, we still guide them to be able to meet up. At the end of the day, everybody is good to go. And that's what differentiation is standing for when it comes to learning. Now, we have talked about differentiation. Who is a struggling learner in your class? I want you to envisage your classroom now. Some of us have been teaching, we've been on holiday. Some of us just finished summer school. And some, before you went on holiday, who can you identify as a struggling learner? Who are those you can identify as struggling learners in your class? What are the things that make you conclude that these children are struggling? I want you to put that in the comment section. What are the things you feel that will make you conclude that these children are struggling? From my slide here, a struggling learner is a learner who faces challenges in their understanding. Struggling learners, you see them, especially with the younger ones, when they see that the task given, other children are getting it, you see it written all over their faces. It's unlike my days when we struggle to understand and we don't understand, we just give up. We can even put up a smile and yet we don't even know it. But these children these days, if they don't get it, you see them, it's written all over their faces. They seem not to understand what you are doing. They try to do it. They are not getting it. That reminds me of when I was in secondary school. That's the reason why I never loved home economics in any shade up to today. Why? We were giving it homework. I tried to do it. I found out that my colleagues, my other classmates, their sewing was looking so neat and beautiful. But mine was looking so dirty and so rough. I have not even submitted my work yet, but deep down in me, seeing my work, seeing what I have done, I felt so bad. I felt so bad at a point that you said, I'm not going to do this subject. I don't like it. I don't like home economics. And when you ask me, I don't like home economics. Home economics and in my days, they call it fine arts. It's not cooperative arts. It was fine arts then. Those two subjects, I never liked them because I cannot even draw zero perfectly. It's as bad as that. I couldn't even draw zero perfectly. And because of that, I struggled and struggled. There was nobody to help me. I just gave up. I said, I don't even like it. If you just call that subject, I'll just say, please, I'm not interested. And so today I looked at it. If there was something called differentiation in my time, and if there was a teacher who was ready to be patient with me, probably I would have been a very good seamstress by now. I don't know. So that is what a struggling child faces. The children you meet in class today, you see them struggling. Before that child who got zero, and you are trying to draw his ears and his eyes and mouth and nose to show he got a zero in your activity, class activity. You don't know the struggle that child has been going through. He has struggled to do it in every way and manner. Some will just give up. And then when you give them assignments, they bring back the books. They just give it back to you. That is because that child is a struggling learner. The child didn't really understand. He doesn't understand what you want, what is expected of him. He does, or of her. He does not understand what the subject matter that is being taught is all about. And that's a struggling learner. Let's dive into the next slide. Why do we need differentiation? I talked about this last year during the teachers' conference, but I'll go over it again. We need differentiation to help all learners achieve their dreams. What's their dreams? Their dream is to have good success. To have success, that's their dream. So we need that differentiation, helping each child, meeting each child at his level. If that child is a high flyer, you give it to that child at his level. If he's an average learner, you give it to that child at his level. Like what I said last year, we have 3 categories of children. I don't believe any child is a dull child. There's no dullard. We have the high learner, or the high flyers. We have the average learners, and then we have the low learners. The lower learners are those people we call dull. They are not dull. They are only low. Their learning pace is only low. Like I tell people, I don't think there's any child in this 21st century that is dull. I'll give you my reasons. If you see them, most of all these musicians, most of these songs, popular musicians, you see those children you categorize as dull in your classroom. They will sing a full album from one track to the other. They are singing and they are so consistent. And then those musicians never taught them. They never wrote those songs on the board. And yet you see the children on the street singing. They are not missing a word out of the lyrics. Then what proof do you have for me now to say they are dull children? They are not dull. It's just that we have not been able to meet up with their learning needs. I hope I'm communicating, or I'm just talking to myself. Are we following? Hello?
Yes, ma. You are communicating. You are following. Yes, ma.
All right. Thank you very much. And I love that feedback. So, then another thing why we need differentiation in our classroom is that when we include differentiation, we introduce it into our learning, it helps us to build an inclusive and equitable learning environment. When I said inclusive, it means we are able to carry all the children along. There is no special child. All the children are able to follow and follow well. We have an inclusive and equitable, equal learning environment. The child, we know he has a place. That child who we term as struggling child, we have a sense of belonging. He will have a sense of belonging. So the learning environment is so good. The child will not be feeling so bad. I don't think I would like to come to class so early today. Why? Because we have mathematics as our first subject, the first period, and I don't want to spoil my day. No, the child knows even when mathematics is our first period and I'm not so good in mathematics, the teacher is going to take it to my level, to the level at which I will understand. And when that child is feeling sense of belonging, learning will take place. See, learning can only take place when the learner is ready to learn. If you go to the class as a class teacher and the learner is not ready to learn, you might talk from here to tomorrow. Learning has not taken place. And so we should take note of that. Another thing again is that it increases students' engagement. It increases students' engagement. I want to emphasize here that while doing differentiation, differentiation is not telling you that you will, because you are bringing the learning to the level of the child, maybe for a low level learner. I will explain later how you bring it in for numeracy and literacy. Differentiation is not saying that you have to change the topic. No, we are still on the same topic. You are still having the same lesson objective. The lesson objective remains the same. But it is at dishing out your lesson, your presentation, that you have to carry these other ones who are not able to meet up with what the standard the other children are meeting up with. Why those ones who can run with it? Remember my ideology I gave you of the child who is walking by 7 months. Why that child who is running, we don't stop the child. We don't tie the child to the chair and say, oh, no, you have started walking. So wait, let other people walk first. No. You give that child task that he can work on. The child is walking. Now, if he wants to run, allow him to run. On the same topic, you give him a tougher task. People will use the word tough. Why we start building these other ones? And you see that by the end of the week, if you start by Monday, towards the end of the week, you have been able to move the child from the low level, who is a low level learner, to become an average level learner, and probably even to become a higher level learner. And then you have all your learners being engaged. So it increases students' engagement. Now, we want to look at different strategies to help struggling children. I think this is where many of us will be interested in. How? This is the how. We've been talking since. Why? We started with what, and then we went into why. Why do we need it? Now we are looking at how. And that's why I tell most of my trainees to be WWH. That's one of my mentors. That's what she does. The what, the why, and the how. Now we are looking at how. The strategies. What are the strategies that we can use for struggling children? Because believe you me, we have struggling children in every class. In every class, in every school, whether it's a public school or a private school, whether it's a low cost fee school, or it's a high fee school, it doesn't really matter. Whether it is a school of the white or the school of the black, it doesn't matter. As long as we have children there, you have these 3 levels of learning among them. And so we want to look at how do we help those ones. We are really looking at those in the lower level. We want to look at how to help those in the lower level. How do we help them? One of the things that I have seen over my years of teaching that helps children fast is using real life objects, or you bring in visuals. Visuals. The children should be able to see. The children should be able to hear. There must be audio visual. And that's why you see most of this, what is it called? many of these children are able to follow up with what is happening in the society. Remember this brain box when they started this work. If there was no visual, the children would be having different steps. But because there was visual, they saw it. You see, there's so much perfecting. I don't know. In my area, you see children go. They give you the same level, the same pattern, exactly with what you see. If children can get that, then they can get your learning. When you bring that same audiovisual into your classroom, thank God for our smartphones. Thank God for YouTube. There is virtually, I was telling an audience I was training 2 or 3 days back. I said there is virtually nothing you can't find on YouTube. There is no lesson. There is no topic you cannot find. I even told them, I said, do you know that even if you want to learn about witchcraft, it's inside YouTube. You get it. There's virtually nothing. Many of us have not really dived into the rich resources found in YouTube. So we can get these things out. And then we show these children, these struggling children, they've been able to see. And then they will also what? Hear. When it comes to reading, talking about literacy now, for literacy, let's help them, especially children who are struggling with reading. I have come to realize that one of the greatest challenge of children in school is the challenge of reading. There is virtually no school, as far as these are part of the world, is where you have all the children there reading fluently. I'm here to see that school. I would have loved to see that school where everybody is reading perfectly well. Forget about what is on our signpost. When you get there, you still have 1 or 2 children who are struggling with reading. And now when you get to that point, what do? You help the children identify their letter names, help them not only to identify letter names, they can also identify sounds. Let them hear sounds. As they hear, try to say it. As they hear, they try to say what they've had. They try to say it. Repeat it. And for those who can blend their sounds to give words, we begin to, they are just trying to read and observe punctuations. What do you do for those kind of struggling children for literacy now? What you do is that, while the other ones who are in the higher level, an average level, probably are reading the comprehension passage, these other ones are giving 1 or 2 sentences of simpler words from the comprehension to handle. And not only that, you can also read aloud to them. Make them, okay, and I'll come into that, where you group them into teams, bring those higher level learners together, and then they try to read to them, which they also get back. Then, for their vocabulary, how do we build their vocabulary? While you are giving those other children bigger words to handle for vocabulary, why don't you give these ones 2-3 letter words that are familiar, words that are common? You don't give them big words to handle. It will be very difficult for them. Another thing is that when it comes to numeracy, you see, numeracy, as far as I'm concerned, from nursery down to whatever level, we are dealing with numbers. So please, let's see how we can help them. There's something we call scaffolding. You, from one level, from one simple task, you try to add another task on top. You try to add another task on top. Before you know it, the child is on. Make your learning engaging. Make it engaging. You can use flashcards for them. You can use flashcards for them. And then you can also make use of. And then another thing we should do is we should break our task. Please break our task and learning. I've dwelt about it. I've talked about it. You want to teach 100 tens and units. Why don't you take it from tens, units for these ones? Forget about the class of that child. The child is a struggling child. Then from there, you bring in, introduce your hundreds gradually. Meanwhile, the other person is already adding up numbers. You introduce your hundreds gradually, and then you just begin to build up from one bit to the other. Of course, you know that building a house started with one block. You added one block, before you added another block. Before you know it, the house is a house is built. And so for those struggling children, let's not just rush things up because we want to finish our scheme. Like I tell my teachers, I say, whose scheme help? If you rush to finish the scheme and you have about 30 learners in a class and only 5 of them actually understood what you are doing, of what use is that? I've talked so much about give extra support. Now, the next thing we should do is that we should provide learning centers. What I mean is this: allow the children move. Allow the children move. Actually those of us who are teaching, those who are teaching in the secondary school, where you have different teachers. The children have been sitting for maybe for 1 or 2 periods. Why don't you say, hey, we want to go outside for this? That movement alone, it helps children psychologically. They just wanted the first teacher, first period, they sat down. They only got up when it was bing, 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 bing. They stood up to greet. After greeting, they are there. You talk. Before you know, another teacher is coming in. They are still there. But when you just say, no, for my class, we are going outside. And you show the excitement of going outside. They don't even know what they want to see outside. They don't know how you want to do it. That excitement alone helps to build and motivate struggling children. So please provide learning centers. You might not go outside. You might just need to turn the children's chair. Now we want to face this other side. We want to discuss. Why don't we discuss? Make them your friends. You make these learning children, struggling children to be what? To be so relaxed. They see learning to be as easy. Then please provide personalized learning. Provide personalized learning. How do you provide personalized learning? It might just be 5 minutes during break time or 5 minutes after school. Just say, oh, Tolu, I would like to see you. And then you just, even if it is just one song, you try to guide the child. This is on one-on-one basis. I was somewhere last week and this guy is already a medical doctor. He was trying to encourage us as teachers that we are doing a great job. He told us that he will never forget what his nursery 2 teacher did. And then when he started his story, he said that his parents relocated from where they were before, a remote place, to another city. And so then he was just in nursery 2, in his former remote village or remote place. By the time they came here, they put him, he was in primary 2 there. That was what he said, primary 2. When he did the test, they had to take him to nursery 2. By the time he was in nursery 2 there, the teacher even said to the head of school that he was going to manage him in nursery 2 because there was no way they can carry him to preschool. Okay? The teacher just wrote capital letter Q on the board. And when she wrote that thing on the board, he called his name. Come, what letter is on the board? He said he was looking at the letter. He spent close to 5 minutes. Because he was new, he was so afraid of the adults, and he also saw cane on the table on the teacher's desk. He was so scared, and he didn't even understand what to say. In short, he knows it's a letter in the alphabet, but he cannot really place it, what letter that thing is. And the teacher just came, touched him. He said, read your letters. And he started reading the letters, reciting the letters. And when he got there, he said, okay, can you say what this letter is now? And he was able to answer. That was not all. That every day in school, during break time, this teacher will call him to his table and will begin to teach him the letters of the alphabet. After that, they started blending sounds to be able to form words. Before the end of the term, he was very good to go. And that from that nursery to teaching, he got to SS3. That teacher was just a nursery teacher, but he was the one that had to bring out the champion that was in that board. He never got any position that was less than first position. And that was how he got to medical school and came out with a very good grade. Today he's a medical doctor. He said he will give everything he has gotten in life. He will give it back to the teacher. That is just looking for the day he will see that teacher. He doesn't know her name again, but he still remembers the face of that teacher so that he can at least appreciate her for what he has done. That he has been praying for her and he believes the teacher is still alive. So what am I trying to say? Let's also help these struggling children using personalized learning. Let's help them. I loved what the last speaker talked about. The one I listened to, I couldn't follow up. He talked about volunteer, being a volunteer teacher. You might not be a volunteer teacher, but you might just volunteer to give your 10 minutes to that struggling child. And you say, okay, God bless you. What if we have them many? Learning centers for them. The ones we even subscribe to, we say they should pay for lesson. I don't subscribe to it. The reason is because it's an extension of the normal class. What you could not do for 8 hours, and I wonder how you want to do it, having the same large population. You want to do that same large population in 1 hour or 2 hours. But when we have personalized learning, where you have these children, 1 or 2, you handle them. You might just say this person is for after school, 10 minutes, I will have time for you. We can use them. The other one, encourage them to ask questions. How do you encourage them? Make them relax. Make them feel very relaxed. You see children, if you make children feel very, very relaxed, and that they can do anything they want to do in your presence, you get them. They will ask you any question. Do not shun them when they ask what we perceive as foolish question. To me, as far as school is learning is concerned, there's no foolish question. The day you shut them down, you have sealed that child. And that child will never want to open his mouth again. Allow them ask questions. Even when the question is looking foolish, try to bring it back to make it so the way you answer it will package it that the child who even asked it, maybe he wanted to just make fun of it, we have something to learn. You can bring sense out of nonsense. I hope I'm communicating.
Yes, ma, you are.
Am I communicating?
Very well, ma.
All right. So we encourage learning. Now, my next slide now is call to action. School will be resuming in a few days. I want you, because I decided to make this talk on differentiation not to be too long or lengthy, so that I will have time for questions. For those of us who have questions, so we can really share, because it is, many of us will say it is so easy to say than to do. The doing is the issue. How can have time? See, children can become whatever you want them. I tell people, children are like the programs in your computer system. However you arrange them on your desktop is how you will have it. Those icons on your system, that's how children are. whichever way you organize them, they fit in like that. And so, as teachers, please, let's make use of this method of teaching using differentiation in order for you to be able to carry all learners. Like I told you before, every child has the right to pass. And it was before we say, if you 100%, you cannot get 100% of your class getting what you are teaching. Now, it is very possible to carry 100% of your learners along at every level for every subject, not just maths and English. We use maths and English because it is the major key subject, but it is possible for you to carry them along. Very, very possible for you to carry them along. And when you carry them along, at a point you will take those struggling children. Before you know it, after 1 or 2 months, they are no longer struggling. Of course, other struggling ones might still come. If you have about 6 struggling children, after the first 4 weeks of learning, you have about 3 out of them. You still go back to those 3 to help them, while you are not neglecting the average and the high-level learners. Because if you do that, you will have retrogression from them. So while you are not neglecting them, you are also having something to occupy them. You give them tasks. When you give them tasks, thank God for critical thinking tasks. There are a lot of critical thinking questions you can give. Like in mathematics, you can give word problems. While you are giving these people a task where you even have to put in pictures, objects for them to count. That's for the struggling children. These other ones, they are decoding. They are trying to decode and encode. We have a lot of tasks you can give to children that will occupy them, that will task them. They will not feel, oh, this thing is so simple after 2 minutes, because a child who is still struggling how to write number 5 correctly, and you are helping that child, you are going to give number 5 to a child who is already writing 1 to 50. You mess up everything. And so we should be able, as teachers, especially 21st century teachers. The last speaker talked about the 21st century teaching methodologies. Especially as 21st century teachers, of course, children who are born from the year 2001 to date are 21st century children. And those are the children we have in our classes. You don't have any child born in 1999 in your classroom. You don't even have the one born in year 2000. So you are having 21st century children in your classes. And because you are having 21st century children in your classes, you must teach them using the 21st century method. And so one of the ways to help those ones who are not able to come up very well is using differentiation strategy. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Dear teacher, thank you for watching. Do well to subscribe to get more inspiring videos that will help you on your journey as a teacher.